Hello, my name is Susan Rodriguez. I'm a 7th grade math teacher at Finley Middle School in Glen Cove, New York. Welcome to our math class. I would just like to give you a little glimpse into what we do on a daily basis in math. When students first come into the math class, there's a do now on the board for them. They're expected to read the guiding question and answer the question for the do now. While they're doing that, what I'm doing is I'm walking around the room and I'm checking to see who did their homework that was due for the day. Once students are finished with the do now and I've checked everyone's homework, what I then do is I put the answer key for the homework on the board, and students check their own answers for their homework. The homework is there and they are expected to check and see if they got the answers correct. While they're checking to see if the answers are correct, I am also putting their information into the PowerSchool parent portal. So this is how the parent portal looks. It shows that these are all the assignments for that particular quarter. So for example, for quarter 4 for this school year, these are the assignments that are given. The homework assignment for the day, the assignment is listed here, the date that it's due, the pages or the assignment, and the score. So for this particular assignment, the students got 100 out of 100 possible points. It shows all the homework, any project grades, any classwork grades, test and quiz grades are also listed. The final grade of 94 here, this means that up until this point in the school year, the student has a grade of 94 for math at that particular time. This changes on a regular basis because I am putting the assignments in on a daily basis. So as soon as I check the homework in the beginning of the period and I press send in PowerSchool, the parent can look online on their computer. They can look on the PowerSchool app and they can find out exactly what their child's grade is and how they're doing so far in math. Once we finish going over, once that's done, I go back, we look at the homework, and I ask students if there's any questions that they have about what the homework assignment was. If they have any questions at all, we go over in detail exactly what it is that needs to be cleared up to help to ensure that they understand the math that's being taught. Isaiah sold candy bars to help raise money for his scouting troop. The table shows the amount of candy he sold to the money he received. Is the amount of candy bars sold proportional to the money Isaiah received? How do you know? The first thing we have to do in order to solve this is figure out, does a constant exist? The formula for a constant is k is equal to y divided by x. Now if we look at our table, our x values are listed here. The x values are the candy bar sold. The y values are the money that Isaiah received. So what we need to find out is if we divide the money received by the candy bars, will we get a constant value? In other words, will we get the same answer every single time? So the first one that we're going to try is 3 divided by 2, because when y is 3 and x is 2, the value for y we have is 3, the value for x we have is 2. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Now, to check and see if a constant exists, the next thing we want to do is we want to check the values for when y is 5 and x is 4. So if we do this, when y is 5 and x is 4, we realize that that k is equal to 1.25. So now we've checked two different values, so we really don't need to go any further. When y is 3 and x is 2, the value is 1.5. When y is 5 and x is 4, the value is 1.25. These are not the same, so since they are not the same, we know that a constant does not exist. A constant would exist if the value is constantly the same thing, and in this case it's not. So what we would say for the answer is the two quantities are not proportional to each other because a constant describing the proportion does not exist. example, we're asked to create another ratio table that contains two sets of quantities that are proportional to each other using the first ratio in the table. So if we look at the ratios that are given in the table, x is 2 and y is 3. So if we want to come up with quantities that are proportional, what we'd have to do, the easiest way would be to find something that's a multiple of 2 and a multiple of 3. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to say, all right, so if we doubled it, if we said 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so these two are proportional because 2 times 2 is 4 and 3 times 2 is 6. Now if I go back and I look at the original quantity that I had again, I'm still starting out with 2 and 3. This time I would like to say that I will multiply them by 3. So 2 times 3 this time would be 6. 3 times 3 is 9. So now for the last quantity I'd like to use, I would say that I would multiply them by 4 this time. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. These are proportional. The way that you can check these is that all of these fractions, if you use the same formula that we used in the previous example, k is equal to y over x, y divided by x, these would all reduce to the exact same number. So now what we want to do with this information is we want to use this to graph this. So in order to graph it, the first thing we need to figure out is what are the ordered pairs? So when x is 2 and y is 3, the ordered pair is 2, 3. When x is 4 and y is 6, the ordered pair is 4, 6. When x is 6 and y is 9, the ordered pair is 6, 9. When x is 8 and y is 12, the ordered pair is 8, 12. Now, let's take a look at the questions that we have here. So students, as we're going through this in class, this information would be on the smartboard. They would also have this on a handout in front of them. So as they're looking at it on the smartboard and going over it with the teacher, they are also expected to be doing the work in their seats. Okay? So, question number 1. What should we label the x-axis and the y-axis? So, since this is the same information that we were dealing with from the previous example, the x-axis I'm going to call candy bars. The y-axis, I'm going to label that as our money. So if we look at the answer that we have here, the x-axis should be the candy bars and the y-axis should be the amount of money received. So now that brings us to question number 2. Question number 2 says, could this be the other way around? Would it be possible to label the y-axis the candy bars and the x-axis the money? Now the only problem with that is that the amount of money received depends on the candy bars sold. So the money should be the y-axis or the dependent variable. So the way we'd answer that question is no. The amount of money received depends on the candy bars being sold, so the amount of money should be the y-axis and the dependent variable. Okay? So the last question is, how should we note that on the table? So the way we're going to note that on the table is the x-axis is the independent variable, the y-axis is the dependent variable. Now what we want to do is we want to take this information and we want to graph this. So we have our ordered pairs here. We have 2, 3. When x is 2, y is 3. The first number listed is always the x-coordinate. The second number listed is always the y-coordinate. Think about it this way. You have to go on the horizontal axis before you do anything on a vertical axis. I always tell students to think of it this way. You have to go over to a building before you go up or down in the elevator. So if we went over to the building, we would be going over horizontally before we go up or down. So we're going to put a point here, so we're going to go 1, 2, and then up 1, 2, 3. So this is our first point. The second point, when x is 4 and y is 6. We're going to go over to 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be our second point. Our third point, when x is 6 and y is 9, we can start from here because we know that this is 4. So if this is 4, we go over 2 more on the x-axis. That's 5. That is 6. We'll go up to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have one more point to include. That is when x is 8 and y is 12. So again, we know that this is 6. So if we go over 2 more, 7, 8, and then we have to go up to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is our point. Now, the next thing that I'd like to do is put a line here. So let's click on our line tool. We'll start from the origin, which is 0, 0. We'll create a line through here, through the points. Make my line a little straighter if I possibly can. Okay? And I would like to put an arrow at the end of my line. Okay? So we put an arrow at the end of our line. This, a proportional relationship, is always going to be a straight line. It goes through the origin. So if we look at the information that we have from the table, we know that the information from the table that a constant does exist because these are all proportional. And when we graph it, we have a straight line. It goes through the origin. This would tell us that these are proportional. And the two ways that we're showing it by looking at the independent and the dependent variables on the table. We are also looking at how the results come out when we graph it. Last but not least, we need to answer this question. Where can you get additional help if you don't understand what to do? The first place I'd like you to go for additional help would be to the school's website and click on my e-board. Once you get to the e-board, you'll see this little envelope here. The envelope is the email link. If you click on the email link and you email me a question, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can with a detailed explanation for what it is that you need to help you out. In addition to that, each student in the middle school has a subscription to the IXL.com website. Now, the IXL website, if we click on here, the IXL website, if I go to their homepage, this is how it opens up. So if I clicked on math and I scroll down to where it says 7th grade, I click on 7th grade, all of the topics that you need to be proficient in for 7th grade math for New York State are listed here. So suppose, for example, I want to choose something that's going to help us out with today's lesson. So I'm going to scroll down to linear functions, and if I look at the first topic listed, identify proportional relationships, which is what we were just talking about today. So if I click on that, a question appears. So the question is the total number of quizzes Brianna takes proportional to the number of weeks she is in school this quarter? Now, so you'd have to look at the question, try to figure out what your response would be to that, and then answer either yes or no. If you answer the question correctly, what's going to happen is over here, the problems attempted, this will update, and the number of seconds and minutes that it's taken you, the time elapsed, will also update. If the question is answered correctly, you'll get another question in the same category that is a little bit more difficult than the previous question, just to challenge you. If you answer the question incorrectly, you will get another question in the same category, but before you get the second question, you will have a detailed explanation of the first question to help you to understand where your error was. You will get another question at the same level until you get the question correct. You can also go to Khan Academy. So Khan Academy is an excellent resource. Here's the URL for Khan Academy, www.khanacademy.org. Now all I did to get to this information was I did a Google search and I searched for Khan Academy proportional relationships. It brings up different videos that pertain to that topic. So the one that it came to was analyzing and identify proportional relationships. So this is the first one, example 1. Example 2 is a little more difficult for this topic, and example 3 even yet a little bit more difficult. So this is also another excellent resource that you can use. But what I want you to remember is that no matter what you have difficulty with, there is always someone there to help you. I will always be there to help you. Contact me if you need to. Look at the resources that the school has made available for you. Our goal is for you to be the most successful student that you can possibly be for 7th grade math. Let me know if you need me for anything. I'm always here to help. Bye-bye.